name's Christina, and I'm a homeschooling mom of 6, and I've had a lot of questions recently on how exactly I homeschool all 6 of my kids with like no stress, because I really do. It's very stress-free. It's amazing, relieving. I just love it. So a little background on me. I am 28 years old at the time of this video. My kids are 10, 9, 8, 6, 5, and 3. So my youngest one does just preschool. I fell into homeschool completely on accident. My kids were very happy in regular public charter schools, actually what they were going to in South Carolina, and we absolutely adored it. And we decided to do a halfway across the country move, and we moved from South Carolina to Texas, and in the transition of the move, we were supposed to get one house that fell through, and so we didn't want to stick our kids into a school and have to move them yet again, because that would be another really big change in a very short period of time. So I was like, hey, well, I can at least do a little bit of homeschool until we find another house, we get settled in, and then we can do it from there. Well, I found a house, we moved in, but by that time I had been homeschooling for 3 months and I loved it. I loved every single minute of it. I loved it way more than I ever thought that I would. To be 100% honest with you, I was not looking forward to homeschooling when I made the decision to homeschool. I was actually dreading it. I am not an organized person at all. I absolutely lack discipline in a lot of areas in my life, which is why 3 years ago, I lost almost 100 pounds because I had no discipline or self-control when it came to food. So I learned that skill, luckily, which means skills can be achieved and learned. But I had a really hard time with organization, and I didn't think that I was going to be able to keep it, holding my kids accountable, make sure they were doing their schoolwork, keep a schedule, and so on and so forth. Well, luckily, in the summertime when we were going through our move, we kind of farmed our kids out so that we could get all of our stuff across country. And a couple of my kids went to go stay with my birth mom, and which luckily I'm an adopted kid. I have great relationships with all sides of my families. And she is very adamant about schedules. She's a very organized person. We could not be more opposite in that regard. Well, when I got back to Texas where she lives, which is one of the reasons we moved here, 3 of my kids were on a schedule. And I have never put my kids on a schedule before. My kids have never taken scheduled naps. They've never taken scheduled lunches. Like, there's never been anything unless they were in school. That was their schedule. So I got my kids back and they were on this like awesome schedule. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're all taking naps at the same time. What am I going to do with myself? So at that point, I finally put my ego down and realized that naps are not a bad thing and schedules are a great thing. You just have to learn how to implement them. And once I did, it was just the most amazing thing ever. So me not being a person that's used to schedules or organization, got used to it pretty quick. So then, since we fell into homeschool completely on accident, we started in the middle of August, actually. And I started going with it, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I had no idea what I was doing. I Googled everything under the sun. I asked other homeschooling parents. I tried everything that I could. I was like, okay, let's see what is out there. And I came across a couple of really cool resources, and I came across a couple of things that I was like, if I was a homeschool kid, I would hate my life if I had to do that curriculum. So I wanted something that was interactive. I wanted to be involved. I wanted to watch my kids learn, because there's no better joy than being able to be a part of your kids' education. I'm sorry, there's not. I actually originally was going to college for elementary education because I wanted to be a teacher, but I never figured that I would have my own classroom in my own house with my own kids. That was just never on my radar. So, I decided that I was going to do a couple of different things as far as curriculums were concerned. I researched unschooling. That was the weirdest term to me. I'd never heard it before. And then I heard deschooling, which is basically for every year that your child was in school, it takes them a month for them to reprogram their brain and get out of this is the way that school operates. So unschooling is nothing more than people don't want to follow a regiment. They don't want a curriculum. They want their kids to learn by seeing, touching, feeling, life experiences. Let's go out on the farm and pick up a leaf and let's go back and figure out what kind of leaf this is. Super cool, very holistic, very neat, new age kind of a way to homeschool. I didn't find that that was something that I would be good at, just because of the fact that I'm not the mom that likes to go to the zoo. I'm not the mom that likes to play tea party. I am the busy professional mom who, I like workbooks to an extent, but I also like to implement things like apps and the computer and things that they're going to have to learn eventually anyways. My whole business is on the computer, and if I didn't know how to operate a computer, we'd be broke. So I think it's important for my children to learn under supervision computer skills. So long story short, after I came back and my kids were on this great schedule and I decided to homeschool, I ordered a bunch of different curriculums and I was like, we're just gonna go at it and see where we fit. Well, how do you do that with all of these different kids on all these different grade levels? I've got a 8-year-old daughter with severe learning disabilities as well as behavioral disorder. And I was like gonna pull my hair out until I kind of implemented something else that my birth mom also taught me. She always has these things called stations at her house. And so when everybody's fighting and everybody's a mess, it's everybody get in your station. So everybody has their own designated area in the house, and they have a little box full of toys that they can take to their station, and they get their own private quiet time. Everybody needs quiet time. Everybody needs alone time. It's cool to have siblings. It's cool to share. It's cool to have friends. But everyone, us included as adults, we need our alone time. So my kids do this whole station thing at their Nona's house. And I was just like, oh, that's a brilliant idea. I should do stations for homeschool. So that's exactly what I did. I just did mine a little different. So as far as stations are concerned, I have 5 different learning stations for my kids. And they all start out in one station and then they rotate. So my first station that I have them in is Workbook Station. I happen to have ordered several $100s worth of all different kinds of curriculums, looked through lots of different ones. I did, the Bob Jones and all kinds of them. And I found that I was more of a fan of something that was more colorful and more fun, that the kids would be more engaged in. And so I ended up getting my kids a Brain Quest book, each one of them for each grade level. And I ended up working with them in this Brain Quest book. That's Station 1. So Station 1's a Brain Quest book. Station 2 is Creative Station. You can probably see behind me the Legos and the Lincoln Logs. That's Creative Station. If they want to do something other than that, they can draw. So it's keeping their creative mindset going. My oldest daughter, she'll build like crazy amazing houses and all kinds of stuff, and then I have her write me a story about what is with her Lincoln Logs and who lives in the house and what the characters' names are and whatever is going to keep her brain kind of going. Third station is Time4learning Station. I found an amazing website that I love. It's called Time4learning.com, and it has an online curriculum for kids all the way from preschool to 12th grade. It costs $19.99, I think, a month for the first kid and $14.99 for all the kids thereafter. But it's exciting, intense learning games, and my kids are learning all kinds of really cool stuff from this, and they're not bored. My kids cannot wait to do their online curriculum. It's not something that you have to show up at a certain time. You don't have a teacher to check in, but it does produce report cards, any kind of report that you can imagine that you want. It'll tell you where your kid's struggling. It'll tell you if they finished their assignment, how long they took on it. If you need to print an award certificate, you can do all of that stuff on Time4learning. So that's the third station. Fourth station is iPad Station. On my iPad, I paid money for some really cool apps like Monster Math, Malaysia Math, Splash Math, and depending on their grade level and their attention span, they can get on the apps and they play their math games and they think it's just such a blast and they feel so accomplished. But at the same time, I'm getting an email once a week from these apps that's telling me, this is how many problems your child did. This is how long it took them. This is where they're struggling. This is where they're really good. So I have a really good grasp on where my kids are at and what they need help with. Okay, and the final and last station that I always have my kids in is typically a reading station. So the kids that can't read, I put them on something called Rock and Learn. It's a video. They've got a ton of different kinds of videos for all different kinds of learning. And on the Rock and Learn videos, my kids have learned all their sight words, all of their sounds. My 3-year-old has all of his alphabet, all of the letter sounds, and he knows a word that begins with each letter. He's also got half of his 100 first sight words down because of the Rock and Learn videos. I found them on Amazon. They also sell them directly off their website. So I put my kids in all these different stations. Everybody's quiet. Everybody's doing their work. If somebody needs help, the only person that's going to need help is a Workbook Station. So it's really nice to not have myself spread so incredibly thin. To find out about the rest of my day and how I keep everybody kind of in line, watch the very next video. I hope you enjoyed this on how I homeschool, and if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. I'd love to answer them for you.